Hi guys. Yeah, I've been pretty absent for a while. I've not uploaded very many videos. I've just been busy and these tanks are taking up quite a lot of time. This is just going to be a little bit of an update and show you what I've been up to. But yeah, I have just been working on these tanks pretty much, and I've not really recorded anything because it's just been like just maintenance-y stuff, which I will do a video on my maintenance routine if anyone's interested in it. But to be honest with you, the reason that I've not really been uploading much is because quite a lot of my tanks have been getting quite bad algae. Well, not bad, but enough to be annoying and enough to just sort of like need working on, and just time and patience. And this one in particular, I think I'm just really struggling with the light and CO2, like getting it dialed in. It's weird. I've not really had an issue with that. Well, that's probably a lie. I probably did have an issue on my previous tank with it, but it's more of it seems to be dragging out longer with this. I just can't seem to get it right. I mean, it's not bad, and even up close like this, like you can't see a lot, but there is kind of a little bit of BBA and sort of like some kind of filamentous algae, and then I keep getting like a green string thread type algae as well. So at the minute I am doing, I've literally just done like an 80-90% water change on it, and I've refreshed the purigen in the filter because that definitely needed doing. So hopefully that helps. I've changed my dosing regime, and I've switched over to Chem as well, because I'm just dosing trace and potassium, which I think is like a bit of an ADA way of doing it. So we'll see how that works out, because there is some little tiny pinholes in some of the plants. So yeah, I think maybe I just need to focus on plant health, and then the algae might hopefully dissipate. But one of the things that I was going to talk about in this video is how I've reduced the BBA in the tank, and I might just flip the camera around for this. So yeah, I'm going to turn the camera around. So I've recently-ish switched to using a Aquari or NeoFlow, and previously to that I had just the normal glassware inlet and outlet with a surface skimmer, and I had the CO2 like here, the ones that go in your tank with the little diffuser. And the way that the flow was hitting the CO2 diffuser, it was just misting the plants at the front, which, as you can see, are pretty much all like, sorry about that, they're pretty much all like Booth and Anubias, which are all pretty slow growing, don't particularly need CO2, and I was getting a lot of BBA on the leaves. I mean, I'll just zoom in to show you. You can see I have got some like filamentous looking algae, but it's not BBA, so that's good. Because I really can't stand it, but there is quite a bit of it actually. Now that could be because I have been a little bit lax with the maintenance. I haven't been doing, religious water changes, and probably haven't been doing enough water changes. So a lot of it is my fault. So it's nothing I'm worried about, because I think it's something that is fixable. I don't think it's anything drastic. But since changing to the NeoFlow, I just realised there's a bloody snail in there. I wondered why that kept dropping down. I've got the inline CO2 attachment on it, which is pretty tricky to see. But yeah, you run the tube from your CO2 line into, there's like a little clip-on thing in there. I have got a video actually on this. I did like an unboxing video and a bit of a like how it works sort of thing. So if you're interested, watch that. But basically, I've put it at the back, and I've aimed the CO2 directly at the stems, which are the ones that are going to use the most of it. There's a lot of pearling going on because I have just water changed. It's not naturally that pearly. And the BBA is practically gone at the front. In fact, I don't want to say I have zero BBA, but there is very, very little now. So I think there's something to be said there, because also I'm using the relievers, because I think BBA is associated with like high flow hitting high concentrated areas of CO2, or at least it was definitely in my case. I think there's like a bit of a debate on what actually causes BBA, and I think it is like a perfect sort of storm of things. But yeah, in my case it was CO2 and high flow, and I think I obsessed over having like a really high flow in my tank. I assumed it was like necessary, and high flow isn't. Like a high turnover probably is, but I think I obsessed too much over and like needing tons of flow to like move water around the tank. And actually, since switching to this, since using the reliever, since using the CO2 attachment, putting it at the back of the tank, quite often you see tanks and the hardware is always at the front, and I was the same. I did that. But yeah, since switching to this, I have had a massive reduction in the amount of BBA that's in the front of the tank. So there you go. It's I'd say I recommend it. I do recommend it. Acrylic pipes, I think, get dirty quicker, and I have broke 2 elbows. Like, these are marketed as being a bit like unbreakable. Maybe these bits are, and they probably are, but all the little fiddly attachments and the ones that I've got on other tanks, like the elbows and the shrimp inlets, the amount of them I've smashed, they are quite flimsy, and they're pretty expensive given it's just a bit of acrylic. But no, I definitely recommend them, but just be careful with them, unless I'm just like super strong hands. But I've broke too many. So yeah, that's where this tank's at. I think the last time I uploaded a video about this tank, this area here had a trident fern, and if you can, if you're from the UK, if you remember when we had the massive heat wave, where it was hitting like 40 odd degrees, which if you're not from the UK, that is like unheard of. It's crazy. Everyone was melting. We're not built for heat, especially me. I'm pasty, and like literally whenever the sun's out, I just hunt for the shade. And my plants just, I think, took a hit because my trident fern literally melted, and it was looking pretty bad, and it wasn't bouncing back, and all the leaves were turning brown and yellow. So I just ripped it out, and I had some Anubias lying around still. So I just replaced it with a load of Anubias and a Bulbitis. I think it's a Hedgelotti, however you say it. And I'm beginning to prefer it. I quite like it. Because trident fern's it's predictable, I guess. Like, it's probably what, I don't know, maybe most people would put it there. That's not a bad thing. That's not meant to be like an insult or anything. It's just, that was my go-to. Like, anytime there's a focal point kind of cross-section, or where all the wood meets, I'm like, bang, stick a fern in it. And whilst there is a fern, there's a Bulbitis. In this instance, I've just opted for loads of epiphytes. And even things like this, which I really like, this Alternantha renicii mini. I don't know what it's called, but it's just one pop of red, and I've actually used it as an epiphyte that's not planted in the soil. I've added some Hydrocotyl verticulata. I'm sorry, I'm absolutely butchering these names. And interestingly, this, in the back there, the big grassy one that you can just see poking up, that's Eriocauron Vietnam. And I've got it in other scapes and it's not grown that big, but in here it's grown absolutely huge. I kind of like it, so I'm going to leave it. But yeah, this has just recently had a trim, so all the red tips of the HRA have been chopped off and they're just kind of new. Been using Seachem Advance after a trim recently, and it's really helping the growth bounce back a lot quicker. So yeah, that's a kind of an update / rant, whatever, on the 60 centimetre nature aquarium. Next, I'll move on to these two. So I'll kind of keep this quick. So the shallow tank, just excuse this is cling film. It's kind of creating a greenhouse because I've replanted some plants in the top, and I'm finding that the light is just drying them out immediately. So to give them chance to adapt, I'm just kind of covering it with cling film and spraying it regularly to keep the humidity. So that's why that looks like that. But yeah, I've added an extra branch because I think it needed it, and because the plants weren't filling that gap, I figured the branch or the wood would give it a better impact. We've added some pond plants in the back, so we've got Gramineus acorus and some Japanese bloodgrass, and also some more Phottonias. And again, I'm trying some Hydrocotyl verticulata in here. The shrimps are breeding like crazy.
which I'm happy about, because if you're a follower of my channel, I made a little cube for these way back. And so when I move them into here, I always get a bit panicked that something's going to happen. But no, they've moved over well and they're breeding like mad. Got 6, no I haven't, I've got 5 chili rasboras in there. So yeah, I love this tank. It's just I'm struggling with immersed growth at the minute, so if anyone's got any tips, please leave some in the comments. I'd be massively grateful and appreciate it if you can help anyone out with it. I think it's just patience more than anything, and remembering to spray them. So yeah, that's the shallow kind of update. All the plants, like the normal, everything's in the way. The underwater section plants are doing pretty great, although there is some algae on these leaves which just doesn't want to come off, but the shrimps like it, so I'll leave it. Look at that little guy. And then moving on to this one, this is a 45p. This is beginning to come together. This is a low energy one as well. Well, it's got an alright light, but it's got no CO2. So I purposely chose plants that would do well without CO2, or some of them are just probably do need it, but I'm trial and error in them, and I think it's beginning to sort of grow in and the plants are taking off. There is some recently added Montevidensis to the back, just because I think it gives a little bit of depth, because it's thinner than the, oh god, what is that big plant called? I think it's dwarf sage, but there's nothing dwarf about it because it's massive. In the front is some, is it Littorella uniflora, which is supposed to be a kind of like carpet-y plant that doesn't need CO2. It's growing tall rather than short, but we'll give it time, it might grow in. But I'm really loving the scape at the minute, if I do say so myself. I wasn't sure about it at first when I planted it. I don't think I planted it great, but I've been adding and tweaking. I think we all kind of do that. And it's kind of getting to something that I'm happy with. And we've got Raid and the Better in there. You can't really see him. And then just a quick scan to these. The cube is actually going to change soon, so I won't focus too much on that, but I'll probably do a build video. But in there we've got a little Anubias. It's just mainly epiphytes in there. The trident fern's not doing well. And this is my most recent. This at the minute is a non-CO2, again, just an ONF flat, no, ONF nano. It's not really highlighting. And I'm using Seachem Advance, and the Acicularis is just taken off. Like, I'm really pleased with how well this is working, because I've never had luck with hairgrass before, especially doing it like no CO2. But just adding the Seachem Advance for the first 10 days is just, yeah, made all the difference. I will do a more in-depth video on the scape, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But since I uploaded the hardscape video, I have added to it because I wasn't quite happy with it, and obviously it's been planted. And yeah, this is another one that I'm really pleased with. I wanted to go for a really classic style nature aquarium, and the fact that this is growing the way it is without CO2 is like, I'm pretty pleased with it. However, I have just bought a second hand off Geordie Scaper. If any of you know him, a CO2 regulator, so I probably will be adding CO2 to this, because for the scape that I want to do in this, well, I haven't actually got it planned yet, but I think I want to use some plants in it that are going to require CO2, so I'll be able to split the CO2 off into 2 tanks, so I might as well add it to this and just really get the most out of it. But I am really pleased with this because, again, it's a 45p, and there's quite a lot of detail in there. Like, there's a lot happening in a small amount of space, so yeah, I sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet. I really don't mean to sound like that. I just mean the good for me. And it's more just the plants than anything, like the plants that I'm having. So like, even just Liliopsis, that's something that just never grows for me, but maybe it's the Seachem, maybe it's the magic of the Seachem. it's just, yeah, the Cryptparva, Liliopsis brasiliensis, got some Albedo brown, some aciculata, some mini hairgrass. And in the background, I've just opted for Bacopa caroliniana, is it? And just some, this needs trimming actually, and some Ludwigia palustris super red, I think it is. And the two together, absolutely love it. I don't know if you can see that. Like from the top, the colours and the shape of the leaves just complement each other so well. So yeah, I'll probably do another more in-depth on this soon, more about the plants and stuff and how I've got it non-CO2y and how it's growing. And yeah, there'll be more videos to come.